Hey everybody, welcome back. Today we have a really awesome episode because I have survival food that's been sitting on my shelf for over 14 years, and we're gonna break it open and see if it still has retained its nutritional value, and more importantly, how does it taste? I got Provident Pantry's apple pieces and Provident Pantry's apple dices. So stick around and I'll see you over at the Underground Kitchen. All right, the kitchen is open. Today we're going to be making some yummy deliciousness with Provident Pantry's apple dices and Provident Pantry's apple pieces. Now I don't know what the difference is between apple pieces and apple dices, but what I can tell you is that the apple pieces can is really heavy and the apple dices can, it's just incredibly lightweight. So we have a little bit of a mystery going on here, and I can't wait to open up these cans and we can see what's going on together. Now, this is survival food that's been sitting on my shelves for 14 years. And I'm real curious, if we open it up, how's it gonna hold up? How's it gonna taste? How's this gonna look? Are we gonna get botulism? There's a lot of things that I'm wondering about. So one of the things that I always tell people, that when you open up survival food that's been sitting on your shelf for that long, you wanna do a visual inspection and you wanna do the smell test. For the visual inspection, we're gonna visually inspect the can and make sure there's no holes, that there's no food that's getting in and out. I also like to pop off the lid and take a look under that and see how it's looking. But the other thing I like to do is I like to visually inspect the date to see when this food expired. Are we eating expired food? And when you look at the bottom of this, you'll notice that there's not an expiration date. Instead, we have a series of numbers and letters, and it's all Greek. It doesn't make any sense. So I'm going to teach you really quick on how to interpret this with Provident Pantry's products. If you look on the bottom of the can, you'll notice with all this stuff, we're only going to focus on the 7-digit code that's on there. And in this case, the 7-digit code starts with a 3 and a 2. We're going to ignore the 3 and the 2. The next two numbers is the year. So we have a 1 and a 0. And so we know that this product right here was made in 2010. And that's the most important part of this. We can also figure out the exact date by looking at the final 3 numbers, which represents the day based on the Julian calendar. And based on the Julian calendar, this was manufactured on July 19th, 2010. So we're going to go ahead and break these open. We're going to take a closer look at the product. But before we do, let me tell you a little bit more about what we have here. Up first is Provident Pantry's freeze-dried apple dices. This has a 25-year shelf life, and there are 15 servings per container. Each serving is 60 calories for a total of 900 calories in the entire container. Up next is Provident Pantry's apple pieces. This too has a shelf life of 25 years, and there are 48 servings in this container. Each serving has 80 calories for a total of 3,840 calories for the entire package. So one of the things that I think is interesting is that the apple pieces can, the one that weighs a lot, that's the one that has over 3,000 more calories than the other can. So we're going to open these up and we're going to take a look and we're going to see what we have here. And we're going to start with the apple dices. This is the one that we'll start with. We'll go with the lighter one first because this feels like what normal survival food should look like. And I'm going to grab a can opener and we're going to sit there and break this open and see. Now, one of the things that I always tell people is you want to make sure that you have a can opener in your survival collection. It's no use having all this survival food and not having a can opener. So I'm going to set this aside and let's pop open this lid and see what we have going on. So we have a couple of oxygen absorbers here, and we're just going to throw those to the side. And you look up in there, you can kind of see this is what we have going on. And let me grab a board here and we will pour some of this out so you can take a closer look here on the camera. Let's pour some of this out. We'll lay this out and hold this up so you can take a look. And that kind of shows you what apple dices looks like. And as I talked about, you always want to do the smell test, and it smells like apples. So I think we're okay. I'm not worried about this. All right, and then next we're going to open up the apple pieces. And this one has me very curious because the weight of this weighs a lot. We're about to see the mystery of what the difference is between apple dices and apple pieces. All right, here we go. We're having a little bit of technical difficulties here. Well, that's interesting. Now what's interesting is this is hard as a rock. You can kind of break it up a little bit, but when you look down in this, it's kind of, this has me a little nervous. I'm going to smell it. I mean, it smells like apples, but the only thing I'm a little concerned about is how this is all kind of clumping together. But let me pour some of this out here for you guys so you can see. And we'll put some of this together here. We'll hold this up a little bit closer to the camera and let you guys take a look. And you kind of see what the difference is between the apple. And you know, for an added effect, I put both products on this cutting board so you can take a look at it. We'll put this under the camera and let you take a look at it and see this up front. Right here we have our apple dices, and right here we have our apple pieces. And it's really fascinating when you look in these two cans here. This one weighs a lot. It's very heavy, but look at this, folks. I can't even. I'm having to scrape at it to break into that. It's all just super loose. It's, you know, this whole thing would pour out. But this weighs so much more, and it's 3,000 more calories. So we're going to go ahead and hydrate these, and we're going to start by adding some water. Now, there are instructions on here, and it's pretty much all we're going to do is we're going to be adding water and letting this soak in some cold water. So I'm going to fill up a couple bowls here and get some nice cold water going. And then we're going to add our apple slices and apple pieces to it and see how this all turns out. And then we'll do our awesome taste testing. And let me pull this back. I'm going to put our first bowl under here so you can see. I'm just going to add just a handful in here. And the instructions say to just let it sit for about 5 minutes. So there's that, and it's just sort of soaking up, and I'm just going to kind of stir it a little with my finger. I forgot to grab a spoon when I was upstairs. And then let's add some of the apple pieces to this. It's almost like this apple piece is a cereal or something. That's what it reminds me of. But we'll add that in, and I'll hold this up closer to the camera so you can see what that looks like. And then we're going to step away, and we're going to let this sit for about 5 minutes. And then when we come back, it'll be time to try it out. Hey everybody, real quick. If you like the content you're watching, click the like and subscribe button down below. It helps push our content out to other like-minded individuals. And remember, the more people we can push this out to and educate, the less people we're going to have to help when the bad day event happens. All right, let's get back to the show. All right, our food is ready. Let's take a closer look and see what we have going on here. We'll start by looking at the apple dices. And when we look here, this actually, I think this looks really good. I think this is hydrated very nicely. So let me grab a plate, and we're going to put some of this on here so that way we can try it. And I'm going to scoop some of that out. And we'll set that right here on the plate, and you can see how that looks. And then we're going to come over here to our apple pieces, and exactly what this looks like is some apple pieces. This is a little bit more water, but we'll put that out there. And here you can kind of see the difference between the two. And then, as I always tell everybody, we want to make sure that we smell these and make sure it doesn't smell putrid, or it smells what we would expect, in this case, apples to smell like. And I'm going to grab my fork, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to try it. All right, folks, it is time to try some survival food that's 14 years old and see how this tastes. I'm going to start with the apple dices, the bigger pieces, since that was the first one that we did here. And, you know, I smelled them both. And it smells like apple, so I think that we're safe, but here we go. Bon appetit. Wow. This, the apple dices taste just like apple. I mean, it's like an apple I just cut up. That's amazing. I was not expecting that. It tastes like I just cut up a fresh apple, and holy cow. Wow. All right, let's try the apple pieces now. These are smaller pieces, but let's see. I'm not a fan of those. It doesn't have as strong of an apple taste, and it's very mushy. Yeah, I don't think that turned out well. But I don't know. Let me take another bite just to see. No, not as big of a fan. But with that said, let's go to the scorecard. All right, let's go to the scoreboard. For the apple dices, I'm going to give that an 8. This product really surprised me, and it had a lot of flavor, and it felt just like an actual apple that I just cut up. And you know, for a 14-year-old apple, not bad. And for the apple pieces, I'm going to have to give it a 5. I really didn't like how the product just stuck together, and there wasn't much flavor. In addition, it felt like mush. And if I'm going to be honest here, I'm probably going to remove this from my survival collection because I do have a few more cans of it, and I just really wasn't impressed by it. All right, that concludes our episode. Now, I think the big takeaway here is that we learned that if we properly store our survival food, that it will maintain its nutritional value and it will maintain its taste. It's nice to know that food that I invested in 14 years ago still tastes good today, and chances are it's going to taste good for another 11 years. But the only way we're going to find out is to maybe sample some more of this in the future. The other big takeaway that I want you to walk away from this is that it's important to try this food yourself and to try it with your family, because the guy on the YouTube channel just might have different tastes than you. Until next time, the kitchen is closed.